This week's new music review is the latest from the Michigan-based band Greta Van Fleet. It is entitled Starcatcher. This is Greta Van Fleet's third studio album. It is produced by Dave Cobb, who is a Nashville-based super producer who has mostly worked in the country genre. It is the first time, I believe, working with the band. It is mixed by Spike Stent, who has been the mixer of probably 10 Things That You Love. Look up his credits. Third band. First album I've fully listened to by this band, front to back, because I'm not the biggest fan of this band. There were moments I enjoyed on this album. There were some specific things throughout the album that I was very about. Overall, I thought it was fine, but it never really got more than fine for me. What did you guys think about this album?
Yeah, for me, I'm not like a super fan of the like classic rock throwback. Even at this point, like the soul revival throwback stuff is a little hit or miss for me. But having said that, this album, I wanted to really like it. I didn't mind the instrumental stuff on it. I thought a lot of it was cool and interesting and throwing back to, of course, the mighty God Zeppelin. And what I didn't like about it was the vocals. I didn't like the choice of melody and the choice of where we went with the range. I think singer is a fantastic singer, but vocals fell flat for me on this one.
Yeah, I also kind of went into this too really wanting to like this album. I kind of have historically, if you watch this podcast, kind of shit on Greta Van Fleet sort of mercilessly, and I really, really wanted to enjoy this record. Granted, I went into it with a biased opinion, but I was looking to have my mind changed. Unfortunately, I am coming out the other end of listening to this record not having had my mind changed. I respect them for what they do. You know, they're a band, man. They're doing the thing. Like, they're putting themselves out there. They're doing what they have to do. But, yes, I found it, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but I was kind of underwhelmed, really, from this performance.
Yeah, I used to like Greta Van Fleet a lot. I don't listen to him much anymore. I was hoping this album would be pretty good, but unfortunately I found it to be lackluster and kind of always leaving me wanting something else. It just never delivered on what I was hoping each song would give the whole album in its entirety. There were a couple high points, a lot of low points, though, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, so getting into this album, kind of the consensus feedback about this band since their beginning has been that they are Led Zeppelin ripoff. It is pretty apparent that Led Zeppelin's a huge influence on this band. The vocal style is very similar to what Robert Plant sounded like, or he's going for that kind of sound. The guitar leads, like the solos, I'm surprised it didn't say featuring Jimmy Page, because that's how much they sound like Jimmy Page, like that kind of like off-kilter, angular, not on the beat type of thing. I think this band, what separates them from their influences, though, and I watched, like we all said, I want to like what we listen to. Like, we spend time listening to this music. Yeah. I listened and watched videos of some bands I think, especially vocals, very influenced this band. Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, Eric Dickerson from Dickinson from Iron Maiden, Ronnie James Dio, Geddy Lee of Rush. I watched live videos of all those performers, and the vocals kind of just come out like the natural instrument, and they just sing. And when I watch videos of Greta Van Fleet, that dude contorts his mouth to purposely make these like very purposeful sounds that he's going for. And that's what really kind of sets me off for it, because it's like, this isn't the flow of your voice. He would not sing. I don't know. Would he sing "Happy Birthday" like this? He purses his mouth. He spreads it out. He makes it looks extremely effortful when he sings, and it sounds like that. It's to me, it's like, maybe straight up honest, it's one of my least favorite voices I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Especially because I think all of us love things from Rush and Led Zeppelin and Rainbow and etc. And it's like, we love that genre, that classic rock 70s thing so much that like when it is a pale like imitation, we all can.
Right.
It sets off
That's a great way
immediately.
to put it. Yeah.
Luke, some of your thoughts.
Having said like that, I will say that I feel like the vocals, particularly on this record, are some of like the most lackluster I've ever heard. In just even the way that they're recorded, they kind of sound like scratch track vocals on a lot of it. And having said that, I'm not like a big Greta Van Fleet guy. I went back and listened to that first record again. Love the vocals on that record.
It's better. Yeah.
I love the phrasing better. It's more on the Robert Plant thing where he's like going like, yeah. And on this record, it's more of a like
power screech.
A power screech, like a kind of thing.
Was,
and the
money
is for me. I don't like that screech tone. I like the that Robert Plant imitation. I'm like, and if it was like a change in the voice because of the critique, I love that first record. I re-listened to it. I'm a fan of it more than I am of this. If like that's on, I'm like, yeah, man, this is cool. And I listen to the radio at work all the time. Highway Tune comes on constantly. It's a good song. I like it. It's and that's where I'm kind of at with it. And so that's like my comparison with the vocals. I do like Greta Van Fleet vocals. I think he's a great singer. I just didn't hit for me on this record like that.
Yeah, I think that he's capable of being a good singer. I think he can sing well. I think it's just that thing where it's like, just sing how you sing. You know what I mean? It's like like you said, it is the most effortful sort of way of watching somebody sing. Like it sounds like a put on. Like I remember I put this record on. I was driving in the car with my wife and we were going to get food, and I listened to this record and I thought to myself, this sounds like they made a Led Zeppelin movie but never got the rights to any Led Zeppelin songs. So
Lifetime
they had to
version.
right, so they had to like write Led Zeppelin, like this is whole lot of blues or something. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. Like that's what it kind of was reminiscent of.
That's
and I
good.
don't,
Balloon
like I said,
crash.
I
Led
said,
Zeppelin story.
yeah, black cat instead of black dog. But it's like I don't want to shit on them.
I don't think it's that bad. It's not that bad. The vocal isn't that good, but the music isn't that bad. It's
no,
just,
but
it's
listen,
picky. It takes.
I hear it.
It's not
I hear
bad,
it, though.
but
I think speaking to what Luke was saying though is like if you do listen to it, that I believe that the production and the sound of the instruments on this record are that like modern rock performance kind of production, and in that being that way, it makes the vocals sound worse because the vocals sound scratch tracky and they kind of sound a little bit distant, and there's sort of that like that megaphony telephony sort of filter that's kind of like
there's so much delay and reverb on
and there's
this.
so much delay and reverb that it's just like the instruments sound great, but like the vocals don't really, you know what I mean? Listen, at this point, we all know that Greta Van Fleet is doing the Led Zeppelin thing, right? I mean, the first song on the record, "Fate of the Faithful," it's no quarter. Let's be real. That's what it is. It's no quarter.
I think it's no quarter. This is where I disagree. I think it is no quarter-ish, but it is also All of My Love.
Yes.
And I think they take the two. That's what I like about it. I think they take those two ideas, mix them together, make something new, because it doesn't really sound like no quarter.
No.
And it doesn't.
There's echoes.
And it's echoes of it. It's the feel of it. You're sipping Haterade, man.
I know I'm sipping. I know I'm sipping Haterade.
It's a new blend of old things, and it's a lot of like a lot of other stuff we listen to. The Duran Jones record we listened to. Old stuff made new. It sounds like old,
Yeah.
I think it's more forgiving in other contexts.
Yeah, if I may,
Please.
when I was listening to the album, I was just listening to it one time through, my first time through, and I let it go to autoplay afterwards, and a Black Keys song came on with this fuzz, with this delay, and I was like, oh, I mean, like if they had more of these marks, and I'm a Black Keys lover, and if they just had like a little bit more of that depth to the song, I think it would have given me what I was looking for. And I mean, I've said this about a couple things. I think even in like a Nude Party review we did a while ago, where you just get some more depth to the song and it really solidifies. And I just think a lot of them were so surface level, not fully committing to the bit, to say, right? It just it probably would have hit that mark for me, and not to, sip the Haterade with my poor brother here. I'm sorry. But
I'm in your camp.
Yeah, it's just
it
just hits me a little bit different. I don't know. I feel like I was always left wanting.
At this point, it is what it is, and I think they're doing interesting things with that vibe. That being said, too, the rhythm section sounds different than Zeppelin. It's not that like charging drums. A lot of the drums in this record are completely halftime. Like everything on this record is almost halftime drums.
Yeah.
And so I think they're taking it and doing a little bit more different things. Sure, it takes from it, but even like stuff I liked on here, the Indigo Streak on here, which was a different kind of vocal tune on here, where it had some stacked harmonies in the beginning, and a bit of more of an interesting sound. Stuff like that on this, I kind of more enjoyed, especially when they stacked the harmonies and like did that. I was like, oh, new sound, a bit of not the screech. Like that's where I thought it was like that gave it a little bit more texture and depth.
I would say we talked about issues with the vocal sound and stuff like that. For me, I would say that aside, my main issue with this album is the fact that I didn't find many of the songs memorable. I didn't leave this album like humming the melodies to songs other than like Fate of the Faithful. Unfortunately, that stuck in my head because of how much I didn't like the vocals. Indigo Streak, Luke said, I liked that. It was a little bit more of an off-kilter song. It was very Queen indebted,
Yes.
With some stacked harmonies, that trebly lead guitar, the punchy, very active bass line. The Archer was another one that I thought was somewhat memorable, but also just sitting here, like, I can't think of what that melody was. So I think that's my thing about why I ultimately wasn't a huge fan of this album, is like not enough of it stuck with me. Like it was to fine for the whole 42 minutes or whatever it is, 10 tracks, 43 minutes. But yeah, only like 3 songs could I like recall right now.
Yeah, I would like to say that I think that Jacob, the guitar player, he can write a good riff. Because I was listening to this record, I'm like, yo, this dude, he can write some good riffs. And it's nice too because he writes like more like, it's not necessarily minor blues riffs. It's like straight minor sort of riffs. So like, yeah, that song, like The Archer, there's like a couple of moments in here where they kind of lean a bit like sort of Irish leaning, where I'm like, oh, a little Rory Gallagher coming out to poke his head to say hello, which I did enjoy that. Like The Falling Sky, which was released as a single, that has kind of leans into the Irish style thing. The Archer also kind of leans into the Irish thing. So I do think that they can write some good songs. And listen, man, I am a sucker for like you're like 3/4 of the way through a song and this sort of like dramatic drop happens and it gets atmospheric and there's like a blistering guitar solo, and they do that very, very, very well on this record. Like what they do execute, I think that they execute it well, and that's not really where my beef with it is. It's the question of originality, but then I'm also torn because if you think about it, it's rock music. Nothing is original anymore. There's no way. Everything is derivative of everything.
That's
so you
why
can't.
I have. That's why I don't really have. It's not stylistically done the way I like it. I would have liked it to, but that's why I don't really have as much of like a bone about like why it takes from here or there, because everything takes from here and there. Like, Jets, Are You Gonna Be My Girl is or
I mean, listen to Wolf Mother.
This is that, and that's this.
Yeah.
I would also say I love when they were more like really like rocking Runaway Blues on here on the beat. More fast, but that song is only a minute long.
For 1 minute, they have fun on this
17
album.
seconds.
There's no fun on this album.
And it doesn't even really fit into the album. It's so different.
The whole rest of the album is so serious. And then
that's
they're
my
like,
favorite
we
song.
still rock and roll for 1 minute. Enjoy.
And that's where I wanted a little bit more of a party, and a little bit more fun, because like if that was the album opener and it was a full song, it also is the best guitar solo on the record.
Yes.
It's the
the barn burning.
But there's a couple good guitar solos.
I mean, for me, that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Guitar solos on the record. If we're liking guitar solos, what did you like over here?
I liked the kind of synthy sounding guitar solo on the Indigo Streak.
Yep.
I liked the fuzzy guitar solo on Meeting the Master.
Yep.
That pans back and forth too. That one.
Mm-hmm. I liked the guitar solo on the Archer. It was a little like kind of thin. I don't know what kind of pickups it was, but it could have used a little bit more meat on it. I liked the solo on Farewell for Now, the closer. But next to all these solos, I write but it's so goddamn Jimmy Pagey. Like,
Yeah.
but they are
There it is.
there's good moments.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's where I'm at too. I'm like, the instrumental stuff on here. I was like, oh, like if this was a
Yeah.
Foo Fighters record and Dave Grohl was singing on these
Oh.
tracks, that's where I was like, I don't mind this as much. If like in my head, that's where I was kind of putting it, and I was like,
Yeah, I think
I was
it's-
like, I really didn't mind the drums and the guitars, and I
No,
liked
no,
the
no.
callbacks and stuff. And for me, it was like, oh, I really don't like the vocal for it, but
Alex, some
I
thoughts.
could live through the music.
Yeah, I think
Please.
Runaway Blues,
Mm.
definitely my favorite track.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar solo, everything. But like even more, I think we can, around the board agree. Vocals were probably the low point of the record. Instrumental, I think they really achieved a lot of what they were looking out to do with it. Although, there were some things that they could have improved on a little bit more, like you said, maybe, more meat on the bones here, there, everywhere, But it does just feel like a Led Zeppelin, what I wrote, Led Zeppelin and Queen mix, where he's just like really pushing hard and hard and hard. But
I wish they'd go more for the Queen mix.
I would too.
I think it'd be an interesting
Yeah.
take for the band to like go more in that direction.
make it more operatic and grandiose.
Yeah,
and-
because I feel
right.
like they're already,
Please.
but
please
they're
don't make it
already,
more
they're
grandiose.
already, they're
But
already
you know what I
doing
mean,
it.
though, in the Queen sense. In the
Musically,
Queen
yeah,
sense.
instrumental
Yeah,
Queen
Because
sense.
I feel like personally, they're already kind of like doing that like act and show and rock and roll
Yeah.
lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
I think the Queen, like if a more play on like that kind of classic rock would be more interesting. That's why I'm like play with other stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's like the Indigo song on this record for me with the most Queen flavored one was the one that worked the best. I think on the whole thing.
I agree. That was my favorite track on the album.
Yeah.
Favorite songs? Want to go around the board? Luke, you start?
Definitely was the
Indigo
Indigo Streak and Runaway Blues. If I'm gonna throw another one out, The Archer was another song on here I really thought, and all three of those I think had strong melodies.
Some favorite tracks, Mike?
Yeah, I actually liked Fate of the Faithful because I know I like kind of crapped on it in the
How dare
beginning,
you.
but like I did enjoy that
I'll
song.
say it one more time. How dare you?
What?
I'm just kidding. It's the Kelly line from The Office.
It was a good opener, though.
But a
what
decent
they're trying
opener,
to
a
do.
strong
Yeah.
opener, like The Falling Sky, I enjoyed that. That had like a like a dirty harmonica solo in it that was sort of a la When the Levee Breaks, but it was
Super
in
cool.
there.
I like that.
And I dug that. I thought that was cool. And yeah, Runaway Blues, obviously. I like the song Frozen Light too, which I thought like
Great
was,
bass sound on that.
Right, that's what I mean. That's the other thing too. Samuel Kizka, the bass player, he does all the bass guitar, all the keyboards, the mellotron, all that kind of stuff that you hear is on there. So I think he's really like an MVP as far as like the band goes. With like, he's the one who's switching instruments and doing a whole bunch of. I mean, they all kind of do, but
Background vocals and stuff too.
yeah, background vocals and all that stuff. And I think he's the younger brother of Joshua and Jacob. So yeah, I mean, I didn't. Yeah, like there are some high points in the record. You know, I just have to,
Dig.
dig a little
you just
bit.
have to gotta shake off your
Favorite tracks, Alex?
Yeah.
Runaway Blues, Sacred the Thread, and Meeting the Master. Meeting the Master, I thought would have been a better album closer, in my opinion, than Farewell for Now. I think it slowed down and had just like a better overall pace. I actually thought when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, this is the closer track for sure. And then I tabbed into Spotify and I was like, oh, this is not.
But Farewell for Now has to be the closer.
I mean, yeah, it has to be the closer.
Yeah,
but-
lyrically. and
I wrote
conceptually.
Farewell for Now. If Lord of the Rings, the movies were more like the movie Dazed and Confused, this would be the closing credits song.
so
Like it's a
great.
hangout stoner, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
This plays over the credits.
Meeting the Master is the most
yeah, I thought
popular
that was
song.
decent. Yeah.
Most popular song on the album, 10 million plays on
Yeah.
Spotify right now, so it's doing really well overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second most popular was second most popular, Sacred the Thread. Third was, Farewell for Now, the album closer, and then the fourth most popular being The Fallen Sky, and all of those songs are over 1 million plays. That's kind of the top four I listed.
Yeah, I like Indigo Streak, The Archer, Sacred the Thread were some of the highlights for me. I just want more fun. Like,
More fun.
don't read the lyrics.
More fun.
Because like I went back to, like I always think. So I'm thinking, well, they're going for that like mysticism, spiritual, timelessness, that kind of ancient earth type of vocal thing, lyric thing. But I went back to the Zeppelin albums after this, and it's like, even on for every like 7-8 track Zeppelin albums, there's always like 4 fun rock and roll songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think of them as being even Zeppelin 4, which I think of being very like kind of like Frozen in Carbonite. Like this is
Opens with rock and roll.
yeah, and it has Black Dog, and it has
Even just those two are very,
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah.
So I just
Ratings.
more fun, more rock and roll. This was like it was too self-serious in my
Yeah.
opinion. It was too much like I don't know. I just need more fun. I hate that rock and roll now in the 2020s is like the serious arena of music.
Yeah.
Like rock and
And
roll
pop is
30 years
just to
ago
have
used to be the
fun.
fun shit. Yeah, and it's like have
Yeah,
more
it's very
fun.
strange. I agree.
Valid.
Yeah.
Have more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because
I
these
like-
dudes can rock. They can all play. They're not John Bonham, but like they are solid musicians.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
good.
They hold their own, man.
Like I would
Yeah.
love to see there are moments on this vocally where when he goes mellow and in the middle, I'm like, oh, this dude, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's when he's going for the high screechy thing, and I'm like, oh my god, approach
Yeah.
the notes a different way. So I think there's a lot of potential in this band. I think, like Luke said, the first album I think has very high moments. So I would love to see throw on the black t-shirts and rock a little bit more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some ratings. Unless anybody has any more thoughts, but if you want to hit some ratings that we have,
Ratings and final thoughts. I'm gonna go 4.5 because I didn't enjoy this because it's the obviously, like I said, the vocal on here. But I love the instrumentals on here, and I really like some of the stuff that was going on. And I like the pick and choosing of like this classic rock, that classic rock, mix it together, make a new peanut butter.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Luke. I'm gonna go with 4.5 too. Listen, it's I'm very conflicted when it comes to this band. I don't mean to offend anybody with like sort of my scathing ways of talking about
I like
them.
how we're conflicted for different reasons and same rating.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just because 4.5 to me isn't very good. So, the thing is just like, yeah, there are some high points on the record. I think they can play the shit out of their instruments, but I just wish that they would try to do something a little bit more original, which I understand is a difficult thing to do in the sort of rock and roll pantheon and narrative and stuff, but there was a million bands out in 1969, and they all managed to have a different kind of sound, so you can try to maybe do
Very
something
true,
a little different.
Very true. Alex,
4. That's just it.
Solid.
It was okay. Just a
That's it.
solid 4.
Yeah.
Love it, Alex.
I am going to say 3.5. Not enough of it was memorable enough. Not enough of it was fun enough. I do not like the vocal styles at all on this record. Or I should say I like 25% of what he's doing. 3.5.
There you go.
This has been your review of Greta Van Fleet's.
Yes, let us know in the comments below what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Were we wrong? Were we right? Let us know. Comment.
Let us know.